When the negotiations of the second round between Pavel Astachov and the ambassador of the Maltese Order Gianfranco Facco-Bonetti began at the building of the Italian embassy in Moscow, I was in France and was available to Astachov by phone. The decision to proceed with negotiations with the Italians without my participation was made jointly with the lawyer. We decided that this would be better because the appearance of a new person in the negotiations could disrupt the established friendly consensus. During the negotiations, Astachov and Facco-Bonetti first discussed the evaluation of Benvenuto Cellini's self-portrait. The lawyer clearly stated our price and justified it. Cellini's works are very rare, they were not sold at public auctions, so the price could not be determined based on the results of public sales. However, in 2004, the so-called Salt Cellar of King Francis I, a work by Benvenuto Cellini, was stolen from a museum in Vienna. This massive gold object became the most wanted object by Interpol in 2005. Therefore, the insurance cost was publicly announced, which, however, did not cover the real value of the salt cellar, as stated by the Vienna Museum staff. Based on this published data, Astachov voiced our evaluation of Cellini's self-portrait. The Italians agreed with our lawyer's justifications and recognized our evaluation as realistic. At that moment, Ambassador Facco-Bonetti formulated a counter-offer, as he expressed it. The offer was as follows: give this self-portrait to Italy as a gift. That is, give it away for free. Astachov's lawyer was not prepared for such a turn of the conversation and immediately rejected this so-called offer. In response to Astachov's refusal, the Italians reminded him that he was just a lawyer, and before rejecting this proposal, Astachov should contact the painting's owner about it. The ambassador also added that if the offer to give the self-portrait as a gift were accepted, the owner would receive honors and there would be a national fest in Italy. Astachov was also offered to leave the negotiation room and call his client, meaning me. The lawyer did just that. Over the phone he explained what had happened and asked me to make a decision. In turn, I asked Astachov himself for advice on what to do because he is my lawyer and advisor. In my opinion, Pavel Astachov was surprised by my reaction because I did not immediately rule out the option of giving away the painting. I remind you that according to our agreement, Pavel Astachov was entitled to a large sum of money as a fee if the painting was sold with his participation. This amount should be something about 6 million euros. In response to my request for advice, the lawyer told me that in his opinion the situation was developing positively and we would be able to find a consensus. If the Italians could not buy this work, we would provide the portrait for exhibition in Italy, and then, after the exhibition, we could sell it to buyers from another country, for example, the USA. I listened to this advice and agreed with Astachov's opinion. Although I had other considerations that prevented me from making a decision to give the portrait as a gift to Facco-Bonetti. During the hurried phone conversation with the lawyer, I didn't find the opportunity to discuss my own considerations. I was able to formulate my doubts more clearly for myself only later. And these doubts look something like this. The very form of the proposal to give away the painting seemed strange to me. The thing is, the offer to give the painting to Italy as a gift could not have been formulated without the involvement of the Italian Minister of Culture. However, I am aware of this issue and understand that the Ministry of Culture of Italy simply is not able to formulate such a proposal. It is too bureaucratic and inert a structure. Moreover, at that time, the Minister of Culture of Italy was Giuliano Urbani, who was already in a dispute with Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, and their disagreements largely provoked a political crisis in Italy. Today, I know for sure that Giuliano Urbani knew nothing about this proposal formulated by Ambassador Facco-Bonetti in Moscow. And furthermore, in the Italian Ministry of Culture, there are such traditions that the ministry does not show any initiative. Ministry employees, hiding behind their positions, always pursue their own interests. They usually conceal their inertia behind impenetrable bureaucracy. The Italian Ministry of Culture is simply not designed to develop such a proposal as the one voiced by Facco-Bonetti. There are no mechanisms there. Any initiative in this bureaucratic quagmire, even if it miraculously arises, can only come from personally interested individuals or influential lobbyists. The logic is roughly the same as in the management apparatus of the European Union. This apparatus is so bureaucratized that any initiatives that arise within it must be paid for or provided with the interests of specific lobbyists. Otherwise, the apparatus simply shows no initiative and extinguishes any movement inside or outside. The Ministry of Culture of Italy is organized exactly like this. Moreover, although the proposal to give the painting to Italy itself did not seem illegal, in combination with the threats and the use of force that followed, it now looks exactly like that. In general, during the phone consultation with Astachov, I had intuitively still vague doubts, and therefore I approved the option proposed by Astachov. Our lawyer returned to the negotiation table and announced that we rejected the proposal to give away the painting, but we agreed to provide it free of charge for exhibition in Italy. In response to this proposal, the ambassador categorically refused and added as a hidden threat that we, Astachov and his client, were greatly mistaken about the possibilities of the Italian Republic. In general, the parties did not reach an agreement on any of the negotiation points except for the price and assessment of the painting. Nevertheless, despite the fundamental disagreements that arose, the Italians did not interrupt the negotiation process, which would have been logical. On the contrary, they informed Astachov that the next round of negotiations would take place in Italy, in Florence. They added that they would inform Astachov about the timing of the negotiations later. As subsequent events showed, our position at the negotiations at the Italian embassy may not have been very diplomatic, but in essence it was still correct. We avoided the trap prepared by the order, and they had to resort to Plan B. The pause in our negotiations between the second and third rounds was needed by the Italians precisely for Silvio Berlusconi to manage to replace the inconvenient Minister of Culture. Italian insiders associated with Facco-Bonetti in the Italian embassy directly told Astachov about this shortly afterward. In other words, my vague assumption about the role of the Minister of Culture turned out to be correct. Presumably, they needed our principled agreement to give away the painting as the first step in a multi-move combination, so that later, during the subsequent stages of this game, they could ultimately take possession of the portrait for the benefit of a private individual or group. I don't know exactly how they planned to do it, but today I have no doubts that this was their goal. As soon as Silvio Berlusconi managed to get rid of his former colleague Giuliano Urbani and appointed Mr. Rocco Buttiglione as Minister of Culture at the end of April 2005, Ambassador Facco-Bonetti immediately scheduled the next round. This time, Astachov was offered to travel to Florence for negotiations and meet there with Antonio Paolucci on May 20th. Antonio Paolucci had previously served as the Minister of Culture of Italy and would later hold the position of Director of the Vatican Museums. And in 2005, Paolucci was serving as the Superintendent of the Polo Museale Fiorentino. Before the meeting, Paolucci was in touch with Astachov and demanded to bring the painting for inspection to Florence, constantly rejecting the photos offered to him. In general, the trap was set and the cheese in the mousetrap was already waiting for us. Subscribe to my channel, dear friends, so as not to miss the next episodes of this real story, as well as useful comments on it.